Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey, what's going on? This is Crystal Taylor, the owner of Fitness is Not a Game, and it is Giving Tuesday. And as I let you all know last week, I released my new F the Scale system. It's an extension of the F the Scale book that was released last year, and this time we're building onto it. But what I'm doing today is even better than that, right? It's even more important, it's even more impactful. What I decided to do, a few years ago, I decided to start incorporating Giving Tuesday into my Black Friday weekends. So many people focus on just selling and making money, but I'm like, how can we give back? And I believe in the universe, and I wait for the universe to show me who and what I'm supposed to support. And last month, about a month and a half ago, I was introduced to this amazing school. Now, this young man you see right here on the screen, Patrick Muhammad, we grew up together. Like,
That's right.
Patrick, how long have we known each other?
Um,
Elementary school?
Elementary, absolutely.
Yeah, elementary school. And my brother called me and said, "Did you know that Patrick has a school?" And I was like, "What? No, I didn't." So he said, "Sis, you got to come see this school." And I'm thinking, it's a school. What's so special about a school? But I went, and y'all, when I tell y'all, I can't stop talking about the school. I can't stop thinking about the school. And I said, "Hi, thank you, universe. This is my Giving Tuesday initiative." So I've been running it ever since Black Friday. So every sale of the F the Scale system since Black Friday, 10% of that is going to Chattahoochee Hills Charter School, which Patrick is the principal of, because I love it so much. And what they're doing. So there's no way I can do it justice. So I want to introduce you all to Mr. Patrick Muhammad, the principal of the school. And Patrick, if you could, can you tell us more about yourself, how you got into what you're doing, and tell us more about the school and what the mission is that makes it so unique?
Wow, Crystal, I'm going to say thank you, but that word does not encompass how much I appreciate you, your family, and what y'all have always meant to me. Too often, as we scale those ladders of quote unquote success, you forget, right? My dad would always tell me, he said, son, remember those you passed going up the ladder, you'll pass those same ones going down.
Mm.
Right? And so humility is something that has always been a consistent characteristic um, that's innate. And one more thing that my dad would say, I'm a daddy's boy, right? He would
Mhm.
say, be yourself.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, the person that you can be consistently every morning, every evening is yourself. And so get comfortable in being yourself. If that's unique, if that's quirky, if that's weird, that's a nerd, whatever that's you. And if you
Mhm.
get comfortable in being yourself, you never have to turn it on and turn it off. So I said
Right.
all that to say this. I run, I think, the greatest charter school, the greatest learning environment, the greatest daily family community meeting
Mhm.
called Chattahoochee Hills Charter School. The children here are my children. I take that to heart. All 540 of them are my children. My parents are my partners. I
Mhm.
talk to my parents. I work with my parents. I live near my parents. I'm in the community with the grocery store. Like it's mine. And I say that with possession. Like, oh, he said that. No, I say it as a possession because I wake up every day wanting to make the experience so great. So you say,
Mhm.
why? Right? I grew up in East St. Louis, Illinois,
The boogie, baby.
a boogie, born and raised. I did not know that it was not the perfect environment until I got out and people would say, oh, where you from? I'm from East St. Louis. You're from East St. Louis? Yeah, what's wrong? I said something. Yeah, I'm from East St. Louis. I'm from the boogie, right? And I would hear people's interpretation and their perspective on our
Mhm.
city who didn't grow up in our city. And I was like, no, that's not that. And then I
Mhm.
was in college and I read this book by Jonathan Kozel called Savage Inequalities. Now I'm in a class, education class, and this is a book assigned by a professor, and I'm reading the book, and the first chapter is about East St. Louis, and it was staged.
Really?
Oh yes, so and the book is staged right around like 1988 to like
Mhm.
91, 92, like our formative, teenage.
Yeah.
And so I'm reading, and it's talking about the city was surrounded by Pfizer, surrounded by Monsanto, surrounded by the stockyards, surrounded by the shores of the Mississippi rivers, and how many spills that these trains would have in the city, and that impacted the developmental growth of children. And I'm reading this stuff like, okay, yeah, I know the stockyards, and it's talking about the inequities of the city. And so, with all of those realities from the outside, on the inside, we had the most loving teachers,
Yes.
caring principals. The candy lady was sweet, right? So, I wanted to create the environment that we felt internally as children in East St. Louis, that externally it didn't matter the noise, right?
Yeah.
But internally, we got everything that we needed. Now, I'll give you this real quick. So I think it's Cheryl Swoops. Cheryl Swoops was being inducted into the WNBA Hall of Fame, and she talked about
Okay.
these frogs. And she said her mama told her about three frogs, and she said there were three frogs in a bucket, and the three frogs that were in the bucket, at the top of the bucket, there were the haters, the naysayers, and all that kind of stuff. And as they would try to hop out of the bucket, then one frog number one, would hear like, "You ain't nothing. You from the
Mm.
poorest place on the planet. You from the murder capital," right? And the noise was so much that that frog died.
Hmm.
The second frog made the attempt, but as the second frog got to the top, and you're gonna be dead by 18. You're not gonna be successful because the public education in East St. Louis ain't that good. Da, da, da. The second frog died. And so the noise got louder and louder from the outside. And that third frog just kept believing, just kept trying to get out, just kept trying to jump, right? And so that third frog got out. And so when the people said, "How did the third frog get out?" The third frog was deaf.
Ah! That
So all that noise, all that haterade, it didn't matter, because what was
part.
necessary for you to be successful was already, you don't need external forces. And so
Mm.
those of us that grew up in East St. Louis, we don't need external forces. We internally, we have everything that we need to be as successful and more successful than anybody else. So I
Yeah.
take that haterade, I take that as motivation. And so in my school, I've worked intentionally to
Mhm.
create an environment where we speak life into children,
Mhm.
right? Every day, if a child interacts with me, a child is going to get a hug, a kind word, some inspiration, and I'm going to plant something positive. I don't care what I'm going through. See, I'm the external force now, right? So it don't matter
Mhm.
what I'm dealing with as an adult. That child knows that this person, this school, their whole focus is on me. And so that spirit, that energy, that intentionality is the catalyst and the thread around our school. I don't do negativity. I,
Mhm.
I I grew up in that. I don't need it, right? I
Mhm.
fight through that. So we have something where we say you have to plant positivity. You have to speak life, right? You have to harvest trust. Okay. So these are actions that we're taking. And so the technical part about the school is a kindergarten through eighth grade school. We're located in Chattahoochee Hills, which is kind of South Fulton, about 15 miles from the airport. We sit on an 11-acre campus. We have individual pod buildings to where my children are in class, but they get the natural light. We have patio doors to extend the lessons outside, because our mission is learning is in our nature. We have animals on campus, and I've had everything. I've had from pigs to like whole horses, like real horses, alpacas, miniature ponies, goat, sheep, rabbits, snakes, guinea pigs, bees, you name lizards, you name it, we've had it. We have access to 820 acres of hiking trails. And we literally have two classrooms out in the woods, like a quarter mile in the woods, where our children and our teacher, we go out hiking to the classroom, and then we'll have our lessons out there for the whole day. We'll take our lunch out there and everything.
Mhm.
And then we have about 4 waterfalls that we hike to. Now, so we do our water samples. We do our releasing of the trout into the Chattahoochee River. We talk about stones and rock formations and land masses and habitats, right? So it's an experience. Like I'm trying to dump all of my adult years of experience in a K-8 setting. Right. And
Mhm.
so we go into finance, entrepreneurship. My children, we do something like Shark Tank where they can design and develop ideas, and then we'll market it to our parents. And so that was a lot, but that's the essence of why I think our school is has a magnetism, because it's not just a school. Like I know this is 30, almost 30 years in public education. I know my responsibility is to shape a map that children end up going down one of these paths, right? Now, the map is not one lane, one dimensional, one path. But as the principal, I'm responsible for putting the boundaries around their desires and giving them paths inside of it, but it's controlled.
Mhm.
I don't want them to get too far out. Once something gets off the reservation, it's dangerous. When you go to a Spelman and Morehouse, they tell you once you get outside the gate, you right. And so I'm putting these boundaries, but I'm giving them paths to navigate through. And the last thing I'll say is almost like I look at myself as the person with a pinball machine. I know these young children don't know what that is, but a pinball machine was where you throw this ball out into this world, and
Mhm.
it's going to have all kind of experiences. Some experiences will be exciting. You might get some points. Some experiences might be detrimental, right?
Mhm.
But we are that paddle in the lives of these children. Our job is to keep them in the game. Like
Mhm.
in the game, you might get some wins, you might get some losses, but we got to be the paddle, right? Too often, parents want to get back in the game. Hey, your time is up. So
That
you're a paddle now. You need to maintain the ball. You trying to be the ball. Oh, no. Ran that race. Your job is to keep this child in the game. And
Mhm.
that's the mentality that we have. And all of that sparks from that little bitty place that's on the east side of the Mississippi River called East St. Louis, Illinois.
That part. Like it's so interesting you say that because whenever I tell people where I'm from, they like freeze. I'm like, what? Like you have no idea how amazing East St. Louis is. And I always ask, when's the last time you went? Don't tell me that you drove by it. Let me
Mm-mm.
know when you spend some time up in there, right? But it's like with the school, when you say it's not a regular school, that's the first thing I say is that when I walked up, I was like, this isn't a school. Like I've never seen it. It felt like a compound, like a commune, almost
Mm-mm.
where you could see how everything worked together. And the first thing that I saw was the greenhouse.
Mm.
Like how many schools, how many campuses do you go to and they have a greenhouse? So can you talk about, because I know the puns that you drop, and people may not be picking up on what you talk about nature and harvest and seed and grow, because I know that you all about sustainability, right? So can you talk about how you all have incorporated that into the school, and even how that sustainability ties into entrepreneurship and
Mm.
how it's helping the children and the community?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So Crystal, there's a study that was done actually out of Kansas City.
Hmm.
And the study talked about this gap between families of low income and high income.
Hmm.
The families with low income, the children were exposed to 600 words per hour. Okay.
Okay.
The families of high income, the children were exposed to 2,000 words per hour.
Okay.
You take the 600 words and the 2,000 words per hour, By age 3, there's a 30 million word gap. Now let's
Wow.
think about this for a second. A 30 million word gap. That 30 million word gap also includes vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
So there's exposure to language, and that language exposes you to more avenues of life. Okay.
You're
And
right.
so my goal has been to close that 30 million word gap by using agriculture and
Mm-hmm.
agriculture literature to close that gap, while at the same time increasing the nutritional aspect and value of little children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was an athlete, growing up. And you St. Louis, you're running for many reasons, but some
Mm-hmm.
of the reasons were athletic, right? And
Yep.
so we didn't have too many, we didn't have too many obese friends for multiple reasons. Some of them were
Right.
running, and some of them were running. But obesity was
Yeah.
not one of my realities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about children, you see a child, you five, that child 112 pounds at 5 years old, right?
Right.
And so being inside the school system, I would always kind of look at, like, man, that's embarrassing, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you really gonna give your child that, double Whopper and those fries and that shit? You bringing it to the school every day, right? And so,
Love.
knowing how our community is plagued with so many diseases, my goal has always been to stop that, right? And so, through
Mm-hmm.
agricultural literacy, we are exposing the children to words and experiences that they would not get in an ordinary school. So if you
Mm-hmm.
talk to my children about the mycorrhizins, you talk to my children about the pH and the chemical makeup necessary, the organisms and the microorganisms inside the soil that's beneficial, and the beneficial insects and the nematodes, right? My children are gonna have a conversation with you about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so through agriculture, I've been able to expose them to artificial insemination, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because we used to say growing up, you a test tube baby. We had no idea what that meant. Absolutely no idea what that meant. But that's called artificial insemination, right?
Yeah.
We just heard of something, we just ran with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that lack of understanding. And I'll give you this example. My wife asked me, Crystal, to go to the store to get a loofah. And
Oh.
so
Mm-hmm.
I heard her, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the store and get this girl a loofah, right? So I hung up the phone because I went to Dumbo Elementary School. We didn't talk about no loofahs, right?
Come on, home of the eagle.
I went to Google. I was like, loofah.
What's the-
What is a loofah, right? And it came back and it said I could either go to the grocery store or Bed Bath and Beyond. Now I'm sitting there, I'm like,
Mhm.
she need this thing for? She said, get me a loofah, right? My lack of vocabulary and
Mm,
exposure as a child did not allow me to understand that the loofah is a vegetable.
mhm,
The loofah is a vegetable that some people boil and they make something like a squash. But also, from a capitalist standpoint, you can dry the loofah and then you can cut it up into these sponge like things, and you put a dye on it and put a string on it and you sell it. And that's what people take a bath. Now, I've been taking a bath with a loofah all this time and had no idea this was a vegetable. But my lack of vocabulary and agricultural literacy, there was this gap. So my goal has been
mm,
to close the gap. So our greenhouse is a state-of-the-art greenhouse where we can grow up to 10,000 seedlings a month. We can control the greenhouse through my cell phone. The temperature right now in Atlanta is like 30 degrees, and my greenhouse is 70 degrees. We
mhm,
can grow any variety of plant that you desire. And from that greenhouse, once they grow to a seedling, which is 2 to 3 inches, and they have their true leaves, then we take those seedlings to our farm. We have a 2 acre farm where we have raised beds, we have some growing rows, and we transplant. Look at the language. We're transplanting seedlings to
mm,
our in-ground production. From the
mhm,
in-ground production, the children are responsible for the irrigation system
mhm,
that's up there that we use, the water catchment system. to harvest the rainwater based off the volume and the rate and the slope of the lean-to building that's placed on the farm, to have drip irrigation to the plants. Now look at all those words and terms that I just said, right? So now take a child that's sitting from a standardized test, right? And the standardized test is using language like irrigation. It's using like slope, rate of speed, velocity, volume. Now our children got a picture. And what do they tell us? A picture is like 1,000 words. So now I've just closed 1,000 words from the word gap with just a picture.
Come on.
Right? And so now you take my children, we say, okay, now it's time to harvest that loofah. Now, when you harvest that loofah, you have to decide if you're going to take that into the consumption production standpoint, or you're going to take that into the consumer standpoint, right? From the consumption, we're going to take it, we're going to boil it, we're going to whatever, I ain't a chef. That's my buddy Tyran, that crew, right? But that part. We're going to take it, and then we're going to, consume it or eat it, or we're going to save the seeds because we're on the entrepreneur mindset, and we see inside this loofah, that's 1,000 seeds. So with 1,000 seeds, I'm going to take these 1,000 seeds, I'm going to grow a whole row of loofah plants because I'm looking from the financial standpoint. And then you say, from the consumer side, I can sell it or whatever. So I see the picture right there. That's the loofah right there that we showed on campus. And so inside on our campus, inside this greenhouse, we already have 2 partnerships with our students. Our students are growing burdock root and marshmallow root for a company called EcoSlay. It's a natural hair product company, right? So my children are able to see, like, I'm growing a vegetable, but look, I have a business model. Now, also, we have a hydroponic system inside of our greenhouse where we can grow 400 seedlings per rack in 45 days, right? And then we're working with some local restaurants to be able to sell that romaine lettuce to the. So, all those things happen because we have access to things like a greenhouse.
Yeah, and I tell everybody, and these are just some pictures inside of the greenhouse. And I talk about this one a lot because I don't eat kale. I don't think kale is that good. However, y'all kale was good. I said I actually like the kale. This is the hydroponic system that you refer to. But I just love the fact that not only are these babies learning about the agricultural and sustainability side, but also the business side of it. On top of, like, it's amazing. When you talked about childhood obesity, that was something that you and I talked about when I was on the campus. Because y'all, let me tell y'all. So we get there on this compound, this campus that is not a school, and I'm standing in the office, and we're waiting on everybody else to get there. And the first thing I see is a class outside. I don't know if it was gym, recess, but the babies were moving and they were playing. They're out there with the teacher. And I hadn't seen that in so long that I just found myself staring. So Patrick tells me, he starts laughing. He said, "You gonna mess around and move to Atlanta?" I say, "No, I'm not. But I love the school. I will come down here as many times as you want me to." But as we're walking around the campus, the babies are outside playing with the volleyball. No net needed, but they know how to play without the net. They had a full-size court. They're walking around eating bananas. And I told them, I said, I realized there are no obese children on this campus. You don't see them walking around with flaming hots and all of this other stuff. They are eating real food. They're learning. Not only are they learning about it, but they're growing it. We ate what we had mint. We had hibiscus leaves. When I tell y'all, I ate so much greenery on that campus, but it was all fresh and delicious. And the fact that these babies can learn that so early, right? Because we talk about, I say it so frequently, how, what, and when you eat now, that's coming from your foundation of how you grew up, right? Absolutely. A lot of us.
Yeah. One thing that you point out, Crystal, so you'll see my baby sometime. They'll have and they lunch. Somebody gave them something red 40, blue, whatever, right?
Right.
They'll see me coming, and they ball themselves. Right? And I see him. So I walk up to him, And I say, hey. I don't control your house. Whatever happens at
Right.
home. My only thing I'm going to ask you, if anything on the back of that package grew out of the ground, I'll let you keep eating. So
Mm.
they'll pull it out. They'll pull it out. They're looking. They're looking. And then, when you got to do this, you know, to see the ingredients, you already know, right? And so they'll say red 3 or blue 4. That's okay. What
Mhm.
is that? I say, tell me something out here growing this blue, right?
Mhm.
That's that blue, right? They can't. And so I tell them, so that means that it's grown inside of a lab. That means it's a chemical makeup, right? Our bodies reject chemicals. Okay. Our body is yearning for something that's in nature. And so, like when you showed that tower, right? My
Mhm.
children, I think I'm a mad scientist at the same time, but it's okay. My children can tell you the difference when they taste a piece of kale that's grown in the hydroponic system compared to a piece of kale that's grown out of the ground, right?
Mhm.
If you put a seed in the ground, that seed sends a shoot down first, right?
Mhm.
And when it sends a shoot down first, that intelligence inside that seed is looking for the minerals inside the soil. That's why the roots are going all different kind of directions. It's
Mm.
looking for those minerals. Now, once those little intelligent arms find that, then it said, hey, I got some, I got some. I got some calcium over here. I'm gonna pull this calcium, right? I got some nitrogen over. I'm pulling. I got it. Once it gets it, then it sends a shoot up. When it sends a shoot up, it's saying, "Hey, I got everything from that. Now I'm ready to produce." Right?
Mm.
Because inside of that seed crystal is all of the DNA from the previous fruit that the seed came from. So the
Mm.
environment that fruit came from, it captures the DNA from that environment, from the storms, from the high temperature, from the cold weather, from the wind. It puts that DNA into the seed, and so that next seed is stronger.
Mm.
It can handle the elements. So you take a third, fourth, fifth generation of an East St. Louis resident, we different.
Come on.
We ain't the same kind of children that came from the 1917 East St. Louis race riot. Bro, we ain't that kind of boogie people. Try that race riot again. You get something different, right? Because we have the DNA of
That
the parents that survived. The black folks in America is not the black folks that got on
mm.
that ship 400 years ago. We different.
Mhm.
Our DNA survived the transatlantic slave trade. We ain't yes sir, no ma'am, and got our head down. We're a different kind of people, right? And
Right.
so likewise inside of that seed, every year that we do an heirloom, meaning save the seed for the next year, say it's getting stronger. So what
Mm.
our bodies are needing to heal from the chemtrails, that our bodies
Mm.
are needing to heal from the climate change, is the seed is being produced to save us. And
Mhm.
so by just changing the palate of my students, they'll say,
Mm.
hey, Mr. Muhammad, I understand the science behind this hydroponic system, and I understand that I have to put these chemicals inside of this but I don't have to put those chemicals outside, right? So the nutritional value that we're getting is going to be greater if we get it by something grown in the ground. So it's convenient to grow it 45 days and fast, right?
Mhm.
But it's just a slower version of a microwave version of food,
Mhm.
right?
Love it.
And so now take this, the children are growing up kindergarten through 8th grade from Chat Hills. When they're going out and they become these politicians and city planners and environmentalists, etc., they have a whole different mindset and understanding because we did it by just changing their palettes.
Mm. Come on. You schooling folks. I don't know if you can see the comments or not, but they're on YouTube. Like, I had no idea that loofah gourd was food before drying. Yeah, look, I didn't know that either. I had zero clue. That's why I tell y'all, this school is amazing. So here we are, 40s, 50s, and above, just not learning this stuff. And these babies are getting this stuff early. Imagine what they are going to be able to do for themselves, for their families, for the communities, for the environment, all the good things. So that's why I needed to support this school. So Patrick, in addition to what what I'm trying to do, how, like, can you talk about how important it is to have partnerships and donations, and like what are some of your biggest needs now? So whatever my community and folks, I dropped the link in the chat for y'all to get yours. If you haven't gotten yours yet, go to fthescalesystem.com, get yours. 10% goes towards Chattahoochee Hills Charter School down in Georgia, so that we can support. So what are some of the things, that the initiatives that your donations go toward?
Oh, thank you so much. So one of our biggest ones is called our Seed to Seed program. Okay.
Mhm.
And what the Seed to Seed program is actually what it says. And so we use the monies to continue to purchase seeds so that our children go through that entire process that I talked about. So every child plants a seed, right?
Mhm.
Once they plant that seed, they're responsible for maintaining that seed all the way until it's transplanted into the ground, all the way until it's ready to harvest. They're totally responsible for it. Now, the funding that we get, I get the same, I get the same funding of every other school, right?
Mhm.
So we get FTE dollars. So FTE dollars, and I know I'm doing a lot of technical talk, but FTE dollars means for every child on campus, there's a dollar amount associated with them.
Mhm.
Okay, and so a child that's has gifted classes, they might have a extra dollar amount. A child that takes exceptional education classes might get a dollar amount, right? And so we pull all that money, but I'm totally responsible for all of my salaries, all of my facilities, maintenance, or whatever. So I said that to say this: I don't have money for what we do. This ag stuff that's amazing. That's me and my team saying, how could we borrow a cow from somebody? How could we save this little money from the chocolate fundraiser and buy some fencing for some goats, right? Because
Mhm.
what we're doing to be great is not given to us to be great. Remember that I'm in the public schools,
Yeah.
right? And so for us to do this phenomenal, non-ordinary, we're not getting that kind of support. And so, but I know that the exposure to what we're exposing these children to is going to give them an educational opportunity unlike any other.
Yeah.
And so all of our greenhouses, all of our animals, the animal food, the animal housing, the professionals that I bring in to, train my staff on how to best, teach our children these new concepts. The Fort Valley State University field trips and the FFA and 4-H, that's Future Farmers of America. All those exposures we come out of pocket for. And so whatever your viewing audience from the purchase of your products, everything is a blessing.
I love it. So you see, we said we want to go 30 minutes. We could talk about this all day because I know you have to get back to it. So I'll just ask you for some parting words. Like, can you tell us what your vision is for the future of the school, and like what excites you the most about it?
Oh, thank you. That's an excellent question. My vision is to be a pipeline to the 1890 land grant colleges. So there are 19 universities that are HBCUs that are land grant colleges, meaning that they were developed for the agricultural piece, coming outside of the 40 acres and a mule and all that. These 1890 colleges were set up to be that vehicle to keep our community healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what has happened, we have, we live our lives, and we buy the nice house in the subdivision, and we're living a good life.
Mm-hmm.
But as a community, when you look at the health of our community, we've gone back beyond slavery.
Yeah.
The slaves were picky, y'all, because we had a diet from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But when we got over here, we got the crap that was given to us by a master to consume. And so our current dietary practices or practices from the crap, the leftovers, the trash that our masters gave us. It's people like Crystal that are saying, that's not really healthy for us. We shouldn't be really be eating that. The generations have continued to make the best that they could out of what we had, but we have choices. And so I believe that we're doing a regenerational farming, not regenerative. We're doing a regenerational farming. So I'm trying to take us back to understanding grandma's recipe, take us back to understanding when grandma was shucking those peas and peeling those potatoes, and we didn't want to do it. That was a reason we should have been doing it. And so my ultimate goal is to be able to go K to 12. We're currently K to 8. I want to go K to 12 to have that agriculture high school and show them the over 40 different careers associated with agriculture, and then line them up to a Tuskegee, a Fort Valley, a Kentucky State, a North Carolina A&T, a Prairie View, line them up, and so that we have a dedicated mindset inside of our community that's going to keep our people thriving into the 22nd century. That's my
It's coming fast too. Like when you said, like, what? But yeah, it is. But Patrick, you are just amazing. I know, and maybe we're gonna have to have you come back again at some point. And I can't wait to come back down there and visit the y'all, the babies were just everything. The way those babies just walking around, and I don't know if I said this to you, but I love how they were all just waving and smiling, just like hi. But they were waiting to get your eye contact. It wasn't like they were just speaking because they felt like they had to. They were like, did she see me say hello? Like, hi. And I was like, hey, baby. Like, it was just, the school just feels good. It just, it's very different from anything I've ever felt before. And I shared that you saw the teachers, but you didn't hear the teachers, if that makes sense, right? So many schools, you hear the teachers barking out orders, right? Stay in line, bold. It was like everybody, there's such a level of respect and understanding and community. It was just, I cannot say enough about it. And we need schools like this to continue. So that's why I chose. And thank you for allowing me to talk about the school, support the school. Thank you for taking time from your day to share some of your mission with us. Y'all, the Scale system was created to help you, right? To help you stay on track. And Patrick and I talked about it before we came on with the New Year's coming up. So many people make New Year's resolutions. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but National Quitters Day is the second Friday in January, right? And so the Scale system is a 12-week system that gives you all that support, that accountability, and helps you move through those 12 weeks, as opposed to feeling like everything is thrown at you, right? It goes in phases to help you work on that mindset first, then give you that support, and then give you all the tools you need for sustainability, right? There's the word, Patrick, sustainability. So I'm just like, so that's helping you. But with you helping yourself, you also have the ability to help Chattahoochee Hills School. If you've been, what do I call it? Chattahoochee Hills Charter School. I don't know what I just said.
You got
it all right. But
this is your opportunity to help the school as well. Like, I just want all of us to do as much as we can to help. So make sure you go to elthescalesystem.com. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop a message in the comments or email at support@fitnessisnotagame, and we got you. So Patrick, thank you so much. I enjoyed this so much, and we'll talk because we have so much more to do. So you all have an amazing day. Drink your water and be good. All right, y'all. Bye. Bye-bye.